Fire pops low in the stove. Cold seeps into an old knee that never healed right. That's how I know winter's close. Not by the calendar, by the pain. I left the battlefield years ago. Brothers. But here's the truth they don't print on discharge papers. Walking away from war doesn't mean the war walks away from you. Sometimes the quiet is worse than gunfire. I thought I'd found a safe corner of the world. A mop, a flannel, a service dog at my heel. Then something evil followed the scent of silence and knocked anyway. A parking garage, a suppressed shot, a woman who thought power could protect her. A USB that proved monsters don't always wear masks. So I'll ask you this, brother to brother. When the breach comes, when the past kicks in the door, do you run or do you hold the line? Sit down by the fire. Listen close. This one's about survival. The stain on the marble floor. Rain slid down the glass towers of downtown Austin before dawn. Warm and steady, turning the streets into mirrors and muting the city into a low, restless hush. Cole Hartman moved slowly across the lobby of Whitmore Health Systems, the wide mop gliding over white marble that reflected the ceiling lights like a frozen lake. He wore the same red and black flannel shirt he always did, sleeves rolled to his forearms, faded jeans brushing worn brown boots. His tall frame filled space without trying to. One shoulder sat slightly lower than the other, and his left leg carried a faint limp, subtle enough that most people missed it, unless they were trained to look. Beside him sat Ranger, a 5-year-old German shepherd, black and tan, alert but calm. The dog's black harness read, "Service dog. Do not pet." Ranger did not lie down. He stayed upright, ears forward, eyes tracking every reflection in the glass walls. Cole trusted that more than any camera. He had learned long ago that danger announced itself quietly. The lobby smelled of lemon cleaner and rainwater carried in on shoes that cost more than his monthly rent. Cole worked the early shift because it meant fewer people, fewer questions, fewer stares. He liked the building when it was empty. It reminded him of dawn before a patrol, when the world held its breath. A sharp click echoed from the revolving doors. Cole looked up. A woman stepped inside, rain dotting her tailored blazer. She was tall, poised, and moved as if the floor belonged to her. Claire Whitmore, CEO. Her blonde hair was pulled tight, not a strand out of place. Her heels struck marble with clean authority. People like her did not rush. The world adjusted its pace to them. Behind her, a young man in a new gray suit hovered nervously. Evan, a recent hire from facilities management, early 20s. Slim build, eager eyes. The kind of man who laughed too quickly and watched faces too closely, measuring his worth in approval. Evan stopped short when he saw Ranger. His smile twitched. He said, glancing at Claire, then back at the dog. Is that allowed here? Cole felt it before he heard it, the tightening in his chest, the old warning flare. He kept his eyes on the floor and pushed the mop forward. Ranger did not move. Claire followed Evan's gaze. Her eyes flicked to the harness, then to Cole. Just another maintenance worker, tall, quiet, in the way. She exhaled, already tired. I don't want animals in the lobby, she said. Voice, even, clipped. Not unkind, not warm either. This is a medical corporation, not a shelter. Evan straightened, sensing momentum. Yeah, I mean, some executives have allergies, and the floors were just polished last night. Cole stopped the mop. Slowly, he looked up. Service dog, he said. His voice was low, controlled. He's trained. Claire's gaze hardened, not in anger, but in impatience. She had spent her life surrounded by men who explained things to her. She did not need another one. Rules are rules, she said. Take him outside. Finish later. The words landed heavier than she intended, or maybe exactly as heavy. Around them, the lobby remained silent. Rain tapped softly against the glass. Cole felt heat rise behind his eyes. Not rage. Not yet. Something older. The memory of commands given without context. Of being dismissed as equipment rather than human. He thought of his daughter, Grace, eating cereal alone before school. Of the way she had asked, just last night, why some parents pick their kids up in suits while he wore work boots. He tightened his grip on the mop handle until his knuckles paled. "Understood," he said. Ranger looked up at him, questioning. Cole gave the smallest shake of his head. He guided the dog toward the service corridor without another word. He did not look back. Claire watched him go, irritation already replaced by the next problem waiting in her mind. A board call, a merger delay, numbers that refused to behave. She did not notice the faint smear of muddy water left behind on the marble where Ranger's paw had been. Evan noticed. "Oh, there's a mark," he said quickly, pointing. "See, this is what I meant." Claire's heel paused. She stared at the smudge. Something small, insignificant, and yet it irritated her more than it should have. "Have it cleaned," she said, already turning toward the elevators. The doors closed behind her with a soft chime. Outside, under the covered loading bay, Cole crouched beside Ranger and rested a hand against the dog's neck. The rain smelled different back here. Honest, untreated. "You did nothing wrong," Cole murmured. Ranger leaned into the touch. Cole closed his eyes for a moment. He counted his breath. In, out. The way he had learned to do when words failed him. He stood, straightened his flannel, and guided Ranger toward the stairs that led down into the building's lower levels. Inside his chest, something settled. Not acceptance. Preparation. The moment that should have been silent. Night settled over Austin with damp heat after the rain. The air thick and metallic. The parking garage beneath Whitmore Tower echoing with distant engines and the hum of fluorescent lights. Cole Hartman pushed his utility cart along the lower level, boots scraping lightly against concrete. The red and black flannel hung loose against his broad shoulders, darkened slightly with sweat from the long shift. His left leg lagged half a beat behind the right when he turned corners, a rhythm his body had never fully corrected. Beside him, Ranger, the black and tan German shepherd, moved with quiet precision, harness visible even in the dim light. Service dog. Do not pet. Cole did not like garages at night. Too many blind angles, too many places for sound to lie. He paused near a ventilation panel, crouched to inspect a loose grate. When Ranger's posture changed, the dog stiffened, head lifting, ears sharp. No growl, no bark, just a tension. Cole's spine tightened. Then he heard it. Not footsteps, not voices. A soft, deliberate scuff. Someone trying not to be heard. He rose slowly, hand lifting in a single, controlled gesture. Ranger stayed. Across the garage, a figure emerged between parked cars. A woman in a dark red dress, heels clicking fast now, no longer controlled. Claire Whitmore. Her hair was still perfect, but her shoulders were tight. Her phone clenched in her hand like a lifeline she didn't trust. She didn't see Cole. Behind her, another shape, detached from the shadows. Male. Medium height, athletic build, baseball cap pulled low. His jacket bulged unnaturally at the side. His movement was too smooth, too intentional. Cole's mind snapped into an older gear. Distance, angles, timing. "Claire," he called softly. She turned, startled. Relief, flickering for a fraction of a second. It died instantly when the man lunged. The sound was wrong. Not a shout, not a scream, a muffled hiss, like air escaping a tire, a silencer. Cole moved. He crossed the space in seconds, grabbing Claire by the arm and yanking her hard behind a concrete pillar as glass shattered where her head had been. He clamped a hand over her mouth before she could make a sound, his voice low, urgent, absolute. "Don't talk." Her eyes went wide, panicked, furious. confused. She struggled instinctively. Ranger stepped forward, body squared between them and the open space. Teeth bared now, but silent. Another shot cracked, bullet biting concrete inches from Cole's shoulder. The attacker froze, recalculating. Cole pressed Claire's back against the cold pillar, his body shielding hers. He felt her heart pounding through the thin fabric of her dress. He knew that rhythm. Terror always sounded the same. "Breathe through your nose," he whispered. Slow. She shook, but she nodded. The attacker retreated, moving toward the ramp, not running, not rushing. A professional. Before disappearing, something slipped from his jacket and skittered across the concrete, stopping near a drainage grate. A keycard. Executive-level access. Ranger lunged forward a step, then stopped at Cole's signal. Silence returned, heavier than before. Claire sagged against the pillar, knees weakening. Cole eased his grip but didn't step away. He scanned the garage methodically, counting seconds, listening for echoes. 4 partners, 4 engines. Nothing. Only then did he look at her. Her face was pale, lipstick smeared, eyes burning with shock and something dangerously close to shame. "That man," she said, voice unsteady, "was trying to kill me." "Yes," Cole replied. She stared at him, recognition dawning too late. "You're the janitor." Cole's jaw tightened. "Maintenance." Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. Too distant. Claire followed his gaze to the key card on the ground. Her breath caught. "That's internal. Only senior staff have that level." Cole crouched, scooped it up with a cloth from his cart, slipped it into his pocket. The movement was smooth, practiced. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "Making sure you're still alive tomorrow," he said. She flinched at the edge in his voice. Ranger returned to Cole's side, pressing close, grounding him. Cole rested a hand on the dog's neck for half a second, then turned back to Claire. "We need to move," he said. "Not upstairs, not home." Her eyes hardened, CEO instincts fighting through fear. "You don't tell me what to do." He met her gaze, unblinking. "I just saved your life." The words hit harder than the bullets. Claire swallowed. The garage suddenly felt vast and hostile. Her heels useless. Her title meaningless. "Fine," she said quietly. "Then tell me where." Cole glanced once more into the shadows, then toward the service exit. "Somewhere they won't expect you to trust a man in a flannel shirt and a dog." For the first time that night, Claire Whitmore did not argue. She nodded. And somewhere, deep inside her, the regret began to take shape. What the USB was willing to confess. The rain had stopped, but the night air outside Austin still clung heavy and damp, pressing against the diner windows like a held breath that refused to release. The place sat just off the highway, neon buzzing weakly above the door. Inside, the smell of burnt coffee and fried onions settled into everything. Truckers filled the far booths, voices low, faces tired. No one paid attention to the tall man in the red and black flannel who chose the corner table, his back to the wall, nor to the German shepherd at his feet, calm, watchful. Harness clear. Service dog. Do not pet. Cole Hartman liked corners. They gave him options. Claire Whitmore sat across from him, hands wrapped tightly around a chipped mug she hadn't touched. Her posture was still straight, still controlled, but the sharpness had dulled. Her red dress was wrinkled now, stained faintly with oil from the garage. The armor was cracking. "You planned this," she said at last. "You didn't just react." Cole didn't answer immediately. He pulled a small, battered laptop from his backpack and set it on the table between them. His fingers moved with quiet certainty as he plugged in a flash drive wrapped in a plastic sleeve. "I planned to survive," he said. "There's a difference." The screen flickered to life. Ranger shifted closer, pressing his shoulder against Cole's leg. The contact steadied him. Cole rested his hand briefly on the dog's head, then focused on the code scrolling across the display. Files opened one by one. Spreadsheets, Contracts. Payment schedules routed through shell companies with names designed to sound harmless. Consulting fees. Security upgrades. Private medical services. Claire leaned forward despite herself. These accounts, she said, voice tight. They're not authorized. No, Cole replied. They're hidden. A folder labeled Q4, internal, opened. Inside were audio files. Cole clicked the first. A man's voice filled the small space between them. Smooth, confident, calculated. We can't rush it, the voice said. If she panics, she'll dig. We make it look like decline. Natural, slow. Claire went very still. I know that voice, she whispered. Ethan Vale, COO, her right hand. The man she trusted to keep the company running when the pressure crushed her lungs. Claire's breath came shallow now. He wouldn't. Cole opened another file. A medical chart. Her father's name at the top. Harold Whitmore. Dosages. Treatments. Side effects consistent with early cognitive failure. But the timestamps told a different story. These levels, Claire said, fingers trembling as she pointed. They're wrong. Too precise. Microdosing, Cole said. Not meant to kill, meant to weaken. Her chair scraped back as she stood abruptly, pacing the narrow aisle. Her heels echoed too loud. She didn't care. He's my father, she said. More to herself than to Cole. He built this company. Everything I am is built on him, Cole finished. Not unkindly. She stopped pacing, looked at him. And you? She asked sharply. What are you built on? Cole met her gaze. The diner lights reflected faintly in his eyes. Silence, he said. And consequences. They sat with that. Outside, a semi roared past, shaking the windows. Claire sank back into the booth. Her hands pressed against her temples now. If this is real, she said, then going to the police won't matter. Ethan has lawyers, judges, media. Cole nodded. That's why we don't go loud yet. She looked at him sharply. Yet. I have a daughter, Cole said quietly. Claire's eyes flicked up. Grace, he continued, 8 years old. She walks home from school 3 blocks. Same route every day. Understanding hit her hard, sudden and sickening. He'll use her, she said. He already tried, Cole replied. Her breath caught. When? Tonight, he said. You weren't the only target. For the first time since the garage, fear for someone else broke through Claire's controlled exterior. Her voice dropped. What do we do? Cole closed the laptop. We disappear. Briefly. Long enough to protect her. Long enough to decide. Decide what? Claire asked. Whether you want to save your company, he said, or save your father. She recoiled. Those aren't opposites. They are when one's built on lies. Claire's jaw tightened. She looked down at her manicured hands, now wrapped around cheap ceramic instead of polished glass. I built my life on control, she said softly. If I lose that, you gain choice, Cole said. She looked up at him again, really looked this time. The scars at his knuckles, the fatigue behind his steadiness, the way Ranger never took his eyes off her when she moved too fast. You don't trust me, she said. I trust actions, Cole replied. She nodded slowly. Then judge this one. She pulled her phone from her purse, hesitated, then powered it off and slid it across the table. Cole studied her for a long moment. Good, he said. We leave in 5. They stood together as the waitress approached. A woman in her 50s, with tired eyes and kind hands. You folks okay? She asked. Claire forced a smile that didn't quite hold. Yes, just a long night. The waitress glanced at Ranger, then at Cole. Dog looks like he knows his job. He does, Cole said. They stepped into the humid night. Claire hesitated at the door, looking back, once, at the diner. At the ordinary world she'd stepped out of without warning. She followed Cole, anyway. Behind them, the neon flickered, and somewhere far above, a man who believed himself untouchable began to notice the silence. When control finally slipped, a cold front rolled in from the west, dragging low clouds over the Texas hills, the air turning sharp and restless as night swallowed the narrow road beyond the city. The cabin sat alone among cedar and scrub oak, weathered wood blending into darkness. Cole Hartman parked with the lights off, engine ticking softly as it cooled. He stepped out first, red and black flannel catching the faint glow of the moon. His left leg stiffened as he shifted his weight, pain flaring briefly before he ignored it. Ranger jumped down beside him, landing soundlessly. The German shepherd scanned the tree line, harness visible even in shadow. Service dog. Do not pet. Clear, Cole murmured. From the back seat, Grace Hartman leaned forward, peering out with wide eyes. 8 years old, small, alert. Hair pulled into a messy ponytail. She trusted her father's tone more than his words. "Is this camping?" she asked. "For a little while," Cole said. Grace grinned, instantly reframing fear into adventure. Claire Whitmore stepped out last. Her heels were gone, replaced by borrowed boots a size too big. The confident CEO posture had softened. She hugged her jacket tight, eyes adjusting to the dark, to the silence, without sirens or traffic. "I've never been this far from everything," she admitted. "That's the point," Cole replied. Inside, the cabin smelled of dust and old pine. No electricity, no running water. Cole moved with practice ease, lighting a lantern, checking windows, securing the door. Ranger took position near the hearth, eyes never fully resting. Grace explored happily, touching everything, claiming a corner with her backpack. "It's like a secret house," she declared. Claire watched Cole kneel to Grace's level, explaining where not to step, what not to touch. His voice softened in ways it never had with her. The contrast unsettled her. She realized she had never seen a man explain safety without sounding like an order. Later, as wind rattled the shutters, Claire sat at the small table, hands wrapped around a metal cup of heated soup. She stared into it, reflection warped and unfamiliar. "I sent a message," she said quietly. Cole froze. "To my father," she continued. "I told him I was in danger. That Ethan." "That was a mistake," Cole said, not raising his voice. Her chin lifted. "He's still my father. So is the man who taught Ethan how to poison him," Cole replied. The words cut. Claire flinched, anger flaring, then collapsing into something heavier. "I needed him to know," she said, "in case this is the last chance." Cole turned away, jaw tight. He moved to the window, scanning the darkness beyond the glass. "You don't get to choose the timing when predators are listening," he said. Silence fell between them. Grace sensed it. She crawled closer to Ranger, leaning against the dog's warm side. Ranger stayed still, protective without pressure. Claire watched the scene and felt something ache. She had built companies, dismantled rivals, commanded rooms full of powerful men. And yet she had never been needed the way Grace needed Cole. Never trusted the way Grace trusted him. "I don't know how to live without control," Claire said softly. Cole turned back. "Then learn." A distant sound broke the quiet. Not close, but wrong. Ranger's head snapped up. Cole felt it too. The shift in air. The absence of insects. "They found us," he said. Headlights flickered briefly through the trees, then vanished. Cole moved fast now, calm but urgent. Grace, backpack. "Now, what's happening?" Claire asked. "Consequences," he said. He ushered Grace toward the rear door. Ranger followed close, body tense but obedient. Outside, engines idled somewhere beyond the tree line. Cole grabbed a rifle from behind the door. Old, but clean. He checked the chamber, then handed Grace to Claire. "Stay with her," he said. "No matter what you hear." Claire hesitated. "I'm not leaving you. You're not meant to fight," Cole replied. She straightened. "Neither were you tonight." And yet their eyes locked. Something shifted between them. Respect, sharp and undeniable. A shout echoed through the woods. Flashlights cut through branches. Cole cursed under his breath. Basement, now. They descended into the narrow root cellar. earth-packed walls closing in. Cole barred the hatch, then turned to face them, breathing controlled, steady. Ranger positioned himself at the base of the stairs. A living wall. "I'm sorry," Claire said suddenly. "About the lobby. About the dog. About you." Cole didn't respond at first. Then, quietly, "Regret's only useful if it changes something." The first bang hit the door above them, heavy and deliberate. Grace clutched Claire's hand. Claire squeezed back, fear transforming into resolve. For the first time in her life, Claire Whitmore stopped trying to command the storm. She chose to stand inside it. The price of being seen. Dawn broke pale and cold over the edge of Austin. The sky washed thin with gray as a stiff wind swept dust and broken leaves across an abandoned industrial block. The warehouse stood alone, a low concrete spine of a building Cole Hartman had memorized years ago while installing security cameras no one ever checked. He parked 2 streets away and walked the rest. The red and black flannel pulled tight against his broad frame. His left leg protested with every step, a dull reminder that time always collected its debts. Beside him, Ranger moved with purpose, the black and tan German shepherd silent, controlled. The words on the harness stark even in the low light. "Service dog. Do not pet." Claire Whitmore followed, breath steady but shallow. Her jacket was borrowed, her hair tied back without care. No heel, no assistance, no shield except the man ahead of her and the child already far from this place. Grace was safe. That was the rule now. Inside the warehouse, the air smelled of rust and old oil. Cole flicked on a portable light, illuminating stacked crates and steel beams. Cameras blinked to life overhead. "They'll come," Claire said quietly. "They already are," Cole replied. He handed her a small device. "When I say so, press this. Don't hesitate." She nodded, jaw set. Fear lived in her eyes, but so did resolve. She was done running. Footsteps echoed near the far entrance. Voices followed, calm, confident. Ethan Vale stepped into the light first. Early 40s, slim, immaculate, despite the setting. His suit was gray, tailored. Shoes, spotless. His face held the faint smile of a man who had never doubted an outcome. Behind him, Mason Reed emerged with 2 armed men. Broad shoulders, thick neck, eyes empty of questions. Muscle hired for certainty. "Cole Hartman," Ethan said, spreading his hands. "A janitor with a talent for inconvenience." Cole didn't answer. Ethan's gaze shifted to Claire. "You always were dramatic. You could have stayed comfortable." Claire stepped forward. "You poisoned my father." Ethan sighed. "Weak men don't deserve power." Claire's thumb hovered over the device in her hand. Cole raised his hand once. "Now," he said. Claire pressed the button. Screens along the walls lit up. Audio filled the warehouse. Ethan's voice, calm and damning, discussing dosages, timelines, cover stories. His face drained of color as he realized. "You think this matters?" Ethan snapped. "I own the narrative." Cole lifted his phone, screen glowing. Live stream. 40,000 viewers and climbing. Mason moved first. The gunfire was sudden, brutal. Cole shoved Claire down behind a steel crate as bullets sparked against concrete. Ranger lunged, intercepting Mason's path, forcing him back just long enough. Cole fired twice, controlled, precise. One mercenary fell. Another fled. Mason charged again. Claire grabbed a fallen pipe and swung without thinking. The blow cracked against Mason's shoulder, sending him staggering. Cole closed the distance despite the pain in his leg. The fight was ugly, close, human. When Mason fell, he stayed down. Ethan backed away, panic finally breaking through his composure. "You don't understand what you're destroying." Claire stood, breathing hard. "No, I finally do." Sirens cut through the air. Red and blue lights painted the warehouse walls. Agents poured in, weapons raised. At their front, stood Agent Daniel Brooks,
mid-40s.
weathered face, eyes sharp but familiar.
Cole.
He called. You always had a flair for timing. Ethan collapsed to his knees as cuffs snapped shut. His regret came fast, raw, and useless. Outside, as the sun climbed higher, Claire watched the agents lead Ethan away. Her hands trembled now that it was over. I lost everything, she said softly. Cole stood beside her, Ranger leaning against his leg. You chose truth.
She looked at him,
Eyes wet. That has to mean something. It does, Cole said. Just not what you were taught. Weeks later, spring softened the city. Cole returned to work. Quieter places now. Grace planted flowers in their small yard. Ranger watching from the shade. One afternoon, Claire stood at the gate. Hair shorter. Clothes simple. No title followed her name anymore. I'm learning, she said. Grace ran to her, arms wide. Cole watched them, something easing in his chest at last. Some debts were paid in pain, others in courage. Sometimes the miracle does not arrive with thunder or light from the sky. Sometimes it comes quietly. In the moment a person chooses what is right over what is easy. Many people live believing power will protect them, silence will save them, and status will define their worth. But again and again, life reminds us that God works through humility, through the unseen, and through those who stand firm when fear tells them to run. The janitor who refused to look away, the child whose innocence held a family together, the truth that could not stay buried, no matter how deep it was hidden. In our everyday lives, we face smaller versions of the same test. Do we speak when something is wrong, or do we stay quiet to protect comfort? Do we judge by appearances or by character? Faith is not only what we pray for in churches. Faith is what we practice in hallways, parking lots, workplaces, and homes when no one is watching. God does not promise an easy road, but He promises that truth will not walk alone, and that those who choose it are never truly abandoned. What looks like loss can become freedom. What feels like the end can become a beginning shaped by grace. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs hope today. Leave a comment and tell us what part touched your heart. And subscribe to the channel to keep these stories of faith, justice, and quiet courage alive. May God bless you, protect you, and guide your steps today and always.